Welcome, welcome. Hold on, let me see here. Oh, all right. So, ladies and gentlemen, for those of y'all who are tuning in, we are talking about our book of the month. As you guys know, I have spent quite a bit of time promoting my last book, and now, hold on, pause. I've learned that with one of my platforms, I have to go live with them after I go live with everyone else. Let's see. Oh, I got to put this right here. Sorry. So that's what's going on with this one. Um, all right. So, yes, I first want to thank you guys for supporting. Um, I'm on multiple screens right now, so if it looks a little crazy on your screen, that's why. But yes, I want to thank you guys for giving me a lot of love and a lot of support. I really appreciate this. As a returning author, it's very humbling to know that my books can be reached and help people out. And I hope you guys are enjoying what I've been doing these past Mondays and Wednesdays when I'm able to go live. My book of the month that I have posted is the book that started it all. The pop version a lot of people remember is this one under my original pen name. This is the book about the group of sixth graders who um, became entrepreneurs and fought a local gang for control of their middle school. I was a sixth grade entrepreneur. So when I was in sixth grade, before I read the book to y'all, when I was in sixth grade, I sold candy. So bits and pieces of the Worth Fighting For story are based on what I actually went through as a young man in the streets trying to make money, sell candy, be a positive influence. And I enjoyed what I did. It's part of the reason I'm still in sales now. So I'm always appreciative and humbled when I can even tell this story because I learned a lot while selling candy and what have you. But as we move forward, um, I see that, some things have changed for some of our kids that are selling now. And to see, and when I was a kid, we didn't have social media. So it's not like I can get on and make a channel, log into my favorite platform, make a channel, start talking, start playing video games. None of that was anything we even thought or dreamed could happen. But nowadays, these kids they go door to door, they're creating their own opportunities. So it's always fun and humbling when you see the kids that are trying to make something out of nothing, and they're not just selling candy, they're into all kinds of stuff these days, and they're taking advantages of opportunities that we may not have had when we were their age. I see a lot of y'all joining. I appreciate y'all. um, I'm gonna continue the discussion about being an entrepreneur as a young entrepreneur a little bit later. But right now, I'm going to get into the reading of Worth Fighting For. The version that you guys see in the promos that are out now are correct, but this version I'm holding up now, this is one of the most popular versions, is the first version of the book. Has my old pen name on it. I will probably personally have new copies with my Isaiah David Paul name on them probably next week sometime. I'm still working on that now. I sold the last copies I had. So that's typically what happens. I get copies of Worth Fighting For, it gets sold, Before I can even put some away, they're accounted for. But you know what? Not complain. I'm glad that 20 years later, this story is still having an impact. So, without further ado, I am going to read the first two chapters to you. At the beginning of the book, I have a poem. I'm gonna read that first. It's called "A Pray for Martin," aka the "We're Fighting For" poem. Each line or stanza in the poem is a chapter of the book. All right. So if it sounds like I'm just creating random chapter names. It's not. The chapter names come from the lines in the poem. And it goes, I was just a little boy who wanted to have some fun and get down to business without hateration from anyone. Then I opened my eyes and it was there. I saw my destiny. I stopped and looked up to receive all the greatness that would come. Of course, there was sacrifice and no time to play. But in the end, it was all good, for he sought a better way. Some things are worth fighting for to get what you want out of life. Some hits a man has to take, but he doesn't have to keep it buried on the inside. United, we stood for the right to be what we wanted, even if that means becoming the prey and always being the haunted. Soon the day will pass when I don't catch any sleep because he has come at last and I didn't miss a peep. All right, so that is the poem worth fighting for. Pray for Martin. I'm now going to get into chapter one. I was just a little boy. A sea of pennies floated across the ugly, ugliest yellowish cream carpet on the floor. For a brief minute, I had a vision of caramel fudge bars stacked on a dinner plate right before my eyes. I stopped and inhaled the smell, and for a minute, I thought I had smelled fresh chocolate coming out of the kitchen. The stale metal brought me to my reality and urged me to sit up on the floor. I looked at the pile of pennies I was counting in disappointment. The pile was as wide as a Monopoly board game and as high as the hardback Terry McMillan book I snuck out of my parents' room. I couldn't wait to exhale the nasty aroma that seemed to catch the back of my throat. My father opened the door to my room and I looked up at him. He was a tall, cinnamon colored brother with a touch of red sprinkles blended in. His hair was thin, and the fine, coarse lines were in constant war with the jerry curl he tried to hold on to. From a distance, he looked like a full-blooded Apache, and if I had a dollar for every time he was mistaken as for one, I wouldn't be counting these pennies now. Normally, when he walked into my room, he was beaming those tic-tac white teeth of his. What are you doing? Dad inquired. I'm getting ready to open my own business, I answered without taking my eyes off the pennies. Oh, really? I caught his attention. My father sat down, and pretty soon he was counting pennies too. We had rows of pennies marching down the carpet away from the pile. They were stacked 10 high and 5 wide. Each row had their own penny roll next to it, and pretty soon I was considering changing my plans to putting the pennies on top of each row, but I was afraid that the pennies would fall off. I knew I had caught my father's attention when I told him I was going to open my own business. My father sold M. Walker hair products door to door. If anyone knew anything about selling products, it would be him. So, what kind of business are you going to open? I want to be a candy salesman, I answered proudly. That school store they got at East is garbage. They don't have any airheads, narrow laters, mambas, none of the good stuff. And the prices for what they do have are too high. I figured if you or mommy took me to Sam's Club or someplace like that, I could buy a big box of candy and sell them for a dime a piece and make some money. I should be able to double this in about a week. My 11, soon to be 12-year-old mind knew what I wanted. I wanted to be rich, and I was going to do anything and everything legal that I could to get my steel growing hands to get there. This is just a temporary gig until I get something real going. My father stopped counting and looked at me. I couldn't tell by his expression on his face whether or not he was going to approve of me being a salesman. I guess I couldn't blame him. All my life, I have been talking about being a lawyer, putting all the bad guys to jail, and helping the victims get back on their feet. Now, all of a sudden, I was about making money. What do you know about selling, Martin? I know that if I got what people want, they're going to be willing to part with their money. Wait a minute, that wasn't supposed to come out like that. I meant to tell them that people will spend money on products they want. I mean, that's what daddy had been teaching me all this time about sales and all he talked about at the dinner table with mom. Mom ran a salon on Chambers in Mississippi, and I swear it seemed like she lived there. Daddy would sell products out of the shop every now and then. Now, here my parents were working day and night so me and little Marcus, that's my 4-year-old brother, could have everything a little kid could want. I'm talking like I'm going to scheme someone out of their hard earned money, or should I say, hard begging for money. Part with their money. Just how did you plan on doing that? Sticking them in the back with the sharpened pencil? Shoot, this is not going the way I want it. No, Daddy, I was just going to show the products, and if they like it, they buy. If they don't, I'll find out what they need to get you to take me to the store to get it. It's all about customer service. Whew. I think I saved myself from any embarrassment or extra explaining. Hope I did. So, when were you going to hire me? Dad asked with a grin. I smiled back. If you want me to go along with this plan of yours, you need to ask your mother first. I'll put in a few good words for you, but that's it. You need to know exactly what it is you are going to sell, how much it's going to cost, where you are going to store it, be able to take inventory, make sure that Marcus doesn't get his hands on your stash, and handle the money books. That's a lot of work for you to do and go to school full time, which we still expect you to bring home A's and B's. You better not bring home a C or this little gig of yours is going to be over. And how are you going to invest your profits? Malcolm, Martin, where are you guys? Marcus is writing all over the walls with the crown. You know I don't got any money to fix this. Oops. Oh my. Didn't mean to get daddy in trouble with mommy. He got up and managed to avoid knocking over my stack of pennies. He gave me the look that suggested that I needed to get up and come with him. I really didn't want to talk to mom about this now. I wanted to wait until after we had dinner and dad could be at the table so that I could discuss this with her. Demita Joe Little was all about business, and I barely had enough room to pedal around the bush. I knew that the best time to get her to say yes would be after she'd eaten her meal. I could hear my brother whining on the living room floor after I hear my mother giving him a few taps on the hand. The midnight blue Crayola crown lay broken in two on the still ugly carpet, a bigger victim of mommy's punishment than the culprit who was crying as if someone stole something from him. I'm sorry, honey. Dad gave mom a kiss on the cheek. I was in the room talking to Martin about a job that he wants to do while in school. A job? I didn't say anything to dad about no job. I'm talking about being in business for myself. Man, he just told. My eyes got bigger than I wanted them to, but I was trying to put on a front like what he said didn't even faze me. Well, you know you got to keep your eye on Marcus. He's a little sneaky and likes to get into stuff. My father just nodded his head, and I did the same. I'm so glad that I didn't get dad in trouble. Mom was taking off her work jacket as she was heading into the room. Martin, what are all of these pennies doing on the floor? If you need money for school, never mind. Just tell me after dinner. Good. That was fine by me. I wanted mom to enjoy her shower and get some rest in before I talked to her about opening my own business. I wanted this to come off so smooth that it felt like silk. Dad turned on the television in the living room and went to go talk to mom about whatever it was he had to talk to her about. You guys watch Nickelodeon or something while I go talk to your mother. Martin, make sure that Marcus doesn't write anything else on the wall. Yes, sir. I didn't want to watch television. I wanted to get back into my room so that I could convert my money. Start over. I wanted to get back into my room so that I could count my money because mom and dad didn't understand. I wanted to be in business and I wanted to be in business now. Not tomorrow, not next week, but right now. Before I could change the remote to one channel, Marcus had gotten up and ran in the direction of our room. I had forgotten the fact that he and I shared a room when I was stacking the pennies on the floor. Man, I know what he's about to do before he does, and I quickly run to the room so he doesn't do what I think he was going to do, but I was too late. That little punk marched all over the room, kicking and stomping my money. I could feel my face turning red through my licorice colored skin, and I think Marcus could see it too because he got scared and started to cry before I even hit him. I punched him in the cheek anyway. I'm reading this off the screen, ladies and gentlemen. Get out. Tried to yell as quietly as I could so that I couldn't get in trouble. I didn't want mom or dad running out of the room ready to whoop our behinds because I decided that I wanted to open a can of butt whooping on my little brother. Little or not, he was wrong and should have known better about running through my stuff. I wanted to hit him again so bad. I wanted to cry, but seeing him pout and get mad was even worse. I didn't know what the little boy was thinking, but I knew that I had to try to keep my cool and keep my eyes on that little boy if I wanted mom to agree to let me be a salesman. The phone ringing temporarily took me away from my madness, and I raced my brother to the phone. Little residence, what up, little chump? Little residence. That's my best friend Calvin on the phone. He was always trying to do his imitation of me and trying to get me to sound like a little girl. I'll remember to get him for this when I see him at school tomorrow. I got you, chump. I defended myself. How did tryouts go? They ain't letting no sixth graders try out for the school basketball team. That sucks, man, Calvin complained. Don't have a cow, man. This ain't funny. I really want to play basketball this year. I've been dreaming about this since we were at Elkhart. It's bad enough we don't have a football team, but I got to sit out a whole year for nothing. What about the little league? Man, I want to play for the school. That's how Carlton getting all the girls and stuff. Whereas I had the little brother problem, Calvin had the and little brother problem. Carlton was in the eighth grade and one of the best basketball players on the team. He was the co captain. He always had the flyest honeys trying to get at him. Boy, was he getting at them. He spent his time with them when wasn't shooting hoops at recess. With his skills, he was running through girls like fresh spring water. Carlton would pick on Calvin and I when he thought he could get away with it when he was with his friends. I hated that tall, fake Denzel Washington, Johnny the Bean stalking imitator with a passion because he always had it out for me. I didn't do anything only because he was my best friend's brother. Now, on the other hand, there was Casey. I swear that was the most annoying 4-year old if there ever was one. Always trying to be up under Calvin and I when we were trying to hang out with our friends. I never understood why Casey felt like he had to be around us all the time. Could have sworn he was a spy for his parents. I mean, Elkridge had plenty of 4 and 5 year olds for him to play with. All he had to do was pick one and get ghosts. Them girls aren't even feeling Carlton like that. They just with him because they think he got some money with all the lies he be telling. Talking about he got a snake between his legs. I can't even believe these dumb girls be falling for that line. Dog, you the one telling the tall tales. Where's the man at that lives in the creek? I know he's not watching Rap City on that box television of his with the full antenna on it. Oh man, I told that lie 2 years ago. Y'all still on that? Yeah, man. But for real, I called to see if you got that math homework done. I don't understand it and I need a little help, smart Alex. I never understood why Calvin couldn't say smart Alec. The name was Smart Alec, not Smart Alex with the lips. The way he was saying it sounded just like our Mexican and black friend Juan with that Alex. Juan was another story, and I didn't have time to tell that one. Always mumbling something in Spanish. I hated that. That's why I made it a point to take Spanish so I could understand what he was saying. I didn't like being around people and not being able to understand what was going on. But for real, Mon Morales was mad cool. Dad went to the kitchen to make dinner when he stopped to look at Marcus dancing to the song on BET. TLC was singing What About Your Friends, and I wanted to know all about them. Marcus is off to the side, imitating the dance and trying to keep up with the dancers on TV. Daddy, I want some of them glasses. Can you get me some? My mouth dropped as I could hear Calvin laughing on the other end. He's asking for left eye's glasses. He probably don't know what's on them. Marcus kept doing the dance too. He looked so funny doing it, but it's all good. If you don't run from that fake homie the clown looking stuff on television, and Martin, get off the phone. Your mother's expecting a call in a few minutes. Calvin, I gotta go. I'll see you tomorrow. We're taking the RTD, right? Man, I don't want to get on there with all them crazy people and them gangsters trying to scare everyone in the morning. I want to go to school in one piece. Besides, you know your dad is just going to drop you off like he been doing. Why you fronting? I walk with my brother and the rest of the goons in the morning like I always do. Peace. Peace. Mom came over. Mom came out of the living room and she was wearing a sweat outfit. It was just then that I noticed that dad had changed into something different too. I didn't care. Dad was almost finished with the spaghetti and the garlic bread he had just cooked. Mom took the salad out of the refrigerator and tossed it in a large bowl. That was her part of fixing dinner as she and father alternated days in the kitchen. In no time, our meals were fixed and we were saying blessings at the table. So, Marcus, how was your day? Mom asked as she was putting salad on her fork. It was customary for our parents to ask us about our day first at the table. Then mom and dad would talk about what they had to talk about. Marcus talked about the other kids at the daycare I used to attend when I was his age. Dad would share stories about walking all over Aurora, Colorado, pushing M. Walker products, and my mom would talk about the people and the drama they were in when they came to her shop. The same old, same old. Me, I tried to keep it different. Whether I talked about some girl I thought was cute, my boys, the teachers, or whatever. Today, I was ready to drop a plan on them. I wanted to let them know that I was the next generation of little businessmen in the family and that I was ready to start now. I was kind of hoping that I could mention the business idea a little later, but if I had to play my cards, I had to play my cards. I want to sell candy at school. The words just came out of me. I had a completely different approach on how I wanted to lay this on moms, but at the table, how I want to lay this on moms at the table, but this would have to do. The school store doesn't have anything. I think that I could make some money by giving kids what they wanted. Mom looked at dad and then looked at me. I knew she knew that that was why dad was on the floor trying to help me count them pennies. She smiled at my father and then asked me, so what do the kids want? Airheads, Mambos, Laffy Taffies, Warheads, now and later's Jawbreakers. They want the good candy, Mom, the real candy. My classmates don't want to wait until the weekend to go to the mall and scoop it up. They want some during the week too. Plus, they don't want to pay 60 cents for a bag of M&Ms and M's and stuff when they can walk to Albertsons or Cub Foods and get the same bag for 45 or 50 cents or wait until their moms and dads and take them to Safeway or King Supers. There is a demand for this, and I want to take advantage of it. I can't believe I just used a big word like demand. I think I used it right. It doesn't matter. I think I got my point across. Who's going to help you sell this candy? There are almost 600 students at your school. What if your friends want to get the hookup, as you say? Or what if some bully wants to try to rob you and take your candy and your money? And how are you going to carry this stuff and your books? Are you ready to get in trouble for this? Mom was laying it thick like I knew she would. I was a little frustrated, but I knew I was just trying to get me to think about what I wanted before I just jumped up and said this was what I wanted. Calvin already told me he would help me, and I'm pretty sure Juan, Lester, the twins, and Franklin would help too. Franklin, my mom questioned as she put down the fork. Isn't this the same Franklin you almost got suspended for fighting? That was 2 years ago, and mom was still on that. Yeah, but if you don't want me to use Franklin, I won't. I figured he could fight them other knuckleheads if anything went down. Martin, Dad scolded. Last week, he gotten on to me about encouraging others to get in trouble and act a fool. My last comment made it appear that our conversation went in one ear and out the other. But with all of us selling candy and them putting in to get their share of candy, we should be all right. We'll be together when we sell, so we should be able to outnumber anybody that tries anything with us. Besides, we all can fight. My mom shook her head and she smiled. She knew I could fight, and she also knew that Calvin could fight after all. He had two brothers to practice on. I want to sell candy, Mommy. Marcus jumped in the conversation. No, Marcus, you're too young. I tell you what, Martin, I'll take you to Sam's Club later this week so we can see how much this candy is going to cost, and we'll talk about it more there. I want you to see that money doesn't grow on trees because I'm only going to give you $20 to get started, and that's it. Your dad is going to help you set up a system so that you can keep track of everything you have. Let me talk to some of the other parents, and if everything goes well, you can start on Monday. But you better not get in trouble selling this candy, Martin, and you can only have two B's. The minute you slip up, your candy selling days are over. Thanks, Mom and Dad. I smiled. A smile stretched from one end of the table to another. I could see $1 bills and $5 bills floating on that ugly yellow cream carpet instead of pennies. I was going to be rich. Besides, the paper money smelled better than the coins. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is chapter one of Worth Fighting For. Worth Fighting For is my top selling book of all time. I originally released this book as a challenge. Brief little story before I get into chapter two. Um, there was a major book club called Raw for All, and they did a lot of book reviewings, and it was a good networking between readers and different authors. And it didn't matter whether you were published by a major author or if you were self published, you got to network and interact with people and, of course, promote your book. Um, and this was back in a time when street lit and urban fiction was really taking off. You had a lot of middle school and high school children that were reading street lit. And the problem with that is a lot of people feel and agree that the books were not age appropriate for the kids who are reading. And they issued a challenge to have a um, age appropriate street lit book be released for them to be able to read in school. And I, of course, said no problem. Now, at the time, I was in my early 20s. So I was in the appropriate age group to write this book. And plus, this book is loosely based on some stuff I went through when I was in school. Um, so I thought about my days when I actually sold candy and was making a lot of money selling candy to some of my classmates in sixth grades. And I played Martin's role. I went and got the candy. Me and my friends sold it. I now the difference between me and Martin is as where Martin had his parents' approval, I was sneaking and doing it. I was doing some stuff I wasn't supposed to. I was sneaking off to the mall, buying some candy, coming back, beating my parents home by the time they got home from their jobs, and then I would be in the school selling the candy and whatnot and what have you. And of course, um, just enjoying the fact that I was making money. Now, before I get into chapter two, I just want to say that I'm reading the chapters on the screen because I'm live on multiple platforms. And because of the different camera angles that I'm on each of the platforms, I'm not going to say no names so I don't get demonetized or get in trouble with anybody. I'm holding the book because some people don't have a good view of the front. So if you see me holding a book or if it looks crazy because I have a book in the air while I'm reading, that's why, because one of the cameras has the book, what they're seeing is this. I'm putting the book, so I'm gonna do this for everybody. I'm putting the book in their face so that way they can see the book while I'm reading. So that way when they're jumping on their platform, especially if it's someone who's read the book already, they can talk about what they've read or they can know that I'm reading from this book. Okay. So that's what's going on. Real quick, I'm going to jump into chapter two and then we're going to go ahead and end the live. Thank you for supporting me. If you are enjoying the reading of my book or if you enjoy me reading and talking about things with young adult fiction, please like, comment, share, subscribe on the platform that you are reading or listening to this view, listening to the reading of this chapter on. And again, I want to thank you for supporting me and helping me make my dreams come true. Chapter two, who wanted to have some fun. So, what did your parents say about selling candy? Darren asked me. I turned my CD player off so that I could talk to him. I was into What's the 411 remix by Mary J. Blige. I had to look up so high that I thought I was going to snap my neck. I thought I was tall, being 5'4", but Darren was a skyscraping 6'2". At least that's what he says. I believed him too because he got a huge head and his head seemed to be about a foot long itself. I had forgotten about Darren when telling mom and dad about the candy sales. That was my lookout person, in addition to having a thick crew. Darren was just as tall and just as big as the eighth graders, if not bigger. Yeah, he was older than us, being retained in the fifth grade, but hey, he's still our boy. Most of his former classmates don't even associate with him anymore since he didn't pass with them. They won't step to him though. Calvin, Juan, the twins, Ray and Trey, had came over to our locker. Yeah, so what did your parents think about the candy sales? Calvin asked while giving his dap. You didn't say nothing about that on the phone yesterday. That's because I didn't talk to them then, I told Calvin, and I waited for Lester and Franklin to come over to the locker so that we could discuss it. They were on a different team of sixth graders than the rest of us, so that would explain why they didn't meet up with us right away. Mom is taking me to the Sam's Club to get some prices, and then we start on Monday. Nah, kid, Lester took off his backpack, or at least he was trying to. One of the sleeves had gotten caught on his black and red Michael Jordan jersey. Hold up, man. Before you tear your sleeve, Juan offered to help. He was from Chicago, so he wasn't going to let the jersey get damaged. Juan unhooked the sleeve so that it wouldn't get any more damage than what it was. Thanks, Juan. Mom took me to Sam's yesterday, and I wrote down the prices right here. Plus, I got us some airheads so we could get started. Word. Lester was always trying to steal my thunder, but hey, it's money to be made. He took out a box of assorted airheads and we divided it among the eight of us, leaving the extras with Lester since it was his pack. We can make this money at lunchtime. Then we'll give it to Martin since his mom is going to take him to the store tomorrow. Then we'll have more candy to buy and sell on Monday when we officially open up shop. Well, let me go ahead and put in for some candy. Martin took out $1, putting his money where his mouth was. All the other boys reached in and pulled out $1 as well. Franklin gave me his lunch ticket and frowned. I looked at the ticket for one lunch and I smiled. We all knew that Franklin's aunt was on welfare and that this was the best that he could do. Look at it like this. Pretty soon, you'll be handing me dollar bills instead of trying to cash in your lunch tickets. Franklin smiled and we all went our separate ways to class. I knew if Franklin really wanted to, he could sell his lunch ticket to someone for $1. Usually, you had to buy a set of 10 for $12. Lunch really cost $1.25, but you save 50 cents buying lunch tickets every 2 weeks. Some of the older kids figured out that if they just bought $1 to school with them, then they could bum a ticket off of someone who didn't want a meal but just wanted some snacks or something. I myself was going to sell my lunch ticket because I knew that I wasn't going to be eating today. Like Lester said, there was money to be made today, and we wanted to hit with the candy sales first. So, what are we going to wear on Monday? You think we should try to dress alike? Lester asked. I swear that boy looked like the light skinned version of one of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. We all got black pants, right? All of us nodded our heads. Let's wear red, Ray suggested. Yeah, let's wear red. A lot of people don't wear red. Are you crazy? Juan almost screamed when we gave the stare to calm him down. All these crips we got around here will kill us if we start wearing red. Man, they ain't gonna do nothing to us, Calvin replied confidently as we started making our way to the vacant basketball court. We had sold all the candy we were going to sell in the first 5 minutes of lunch. Besides, what they look like stepping to some little kids. I don't think my aunt's going to let me wear red, man, Darren admitted. Besides, I'm an easier target among you short dudes if something were to go down. We all looked up at him. If he weren't on our side, we probably would have been tempted to smack him. Red is my favorite color after black, I spoke up. I don't see nothing wrong with it. I wish one of the Crips would come up to me, Lester went off at the mouth. I'd sit on them. That's if they don't shoot your fat ass first, Juan cracked on Lester. Man, I'm trying to make some money, not get shot at. They're not going to shoot at us, I spoke up, knowing good and well that the opposite was true. We just some little kids, just like Calvin said. And even if one of them crazies did hit one of us, the whole school would jump. The whole school would stay in their house and watch us get beat. Then move away from the window so they wouldn't get shot at. Martin, I'm surprised you would let something stupid like that come out of your mouth, Juan chastised me. It ain't stupid, Calvin raised his voice. You know what? Forget the Crips, man. If some punks, they some punks anyway. If they got to drive by with some blue bandanas over their face and shoot somebody and then drive off in the car, that's some punk stuff. Calvin, Lester tried to warn him, but that was no use. When Calvin ran off at the mouth, he was faster than Speedy Gonzalez. There was a no catching him. I hate the Crips. No sooner than Calvin had made that proclamation, a group of older eighth grade boys had surrounded us. The leader, Freddie, was a basketball player who looked like the more athletic version of Snoop Doggy Dogg, stepped to Calvin. Calvin looked at him and grilled. I like that in Calvin because Calvin's not a punk. But now was not the time or place to be acting all bad. We all knew that Freddie was the leader of the Crips at East, and the fact that he played basketball at Carlton didn't seem to matter to him at the moment. Furthermore, Garfield, one of the leaders of the Crips, was in the area was his boy. Word on the street was that Garfield was supposed to be a ninth grader at Hinckley, but he dropped out to handle things for his crew. I was just glad that he wasn't around. What was that you say, little boy? Freddie looked down and shoved Calvin. Pretty soon, we were surrounded by a whole bunch of eighth graders looking to get something started. It was eight of us, and I could see where Darren was starting to get. Let me start over. It was eight of us, and I could see where Darren was coming from because he knew, like we knew, we were no match for any eighth graders. Calvin stepped to him, and I was scared because I have never fought anybody bigger than we were. I was not looking forward to getting beat up by a large group of eighth graders because Calvin couldn't keep his mouth shut. I said, Calvin got in his face. I looked at the twins, who looked at Juan, whose face was getting redder by the minute. Lester looked like he was about to pee in his pants. And to tell the truth, that might have been the best move that one of us could have made in a situation like this. I don't know why Calvin thought we were the Power Rangers, but he was about to find out real quick that we weren't. Man, my arms are a little too short for this, Juan stuttered, letting the older boys know that he meant no harm. He was shaking his head, and you could feel the beads of sweat bounce off his strawberry face. I would mistake him for white if I didn't know better. Darren was the quick thinker, and he quickly put his right hand over Calvin's mouth and used his left arm to pull him back. Thank God Darren was one of our peeps, and no telling where this would have gone. He don't mean no harm. He just run off at the mouth at times. He didn't take his medicine this morning. Come on, Freddie, leave him alone. You know the boy is hyper. Freddie and his two boys, Tony and Cedric, looked Darren right in the eye. I balled my fist ready to hit either one of them if they jumped on Darren. I knew this would mean I would a trip to the hospital, but I was gonna have his back. Man, forget you little rug munchers. I know the next time he say something about Crip, it better be something nice. As Freddie turned away, Calvin put his middle finger up. Lester jumped in front of Calvin so that they wouldn't see him. The bell rang and the crowd dispersed so they could get to class. Some of the teachers were making their way to the middle of the group. We were about to go from getting our butts kicked to getting in trouble in 67 seconds. Everything all right, Miss Cap? Everything all right? Coach Spalding, our physical education teacher, approached us. Darren let Calvin go, who was steaming mad at this point. Everything is cool. Darren spoke up for us. Calvin's just a little mad. That's all. Well, Calvin, why don't you come with me for a minute? Work off some of this anger. Coach Spalding wrapped his arm around Calvin's shoulder and escorted him to the gym. Calvin grilled all of us when he turned around. I don't know why. We was trying to save him and us from getting beat up. So we're going to wear orange and green, right? Trey asked. Yeah, orange and green go together. We could do that, Ray responded. Juan and Franklin shook their heads. Me personally, I didn't care. I really wanted to wear my red shirt, but considering the circumstances, that might not be the best idea right now. Orange and green is perfect. Franklin offered his opinion as we went our separate ways. I'll bring some extra hurricane gear if you don't have any. I think I'll look good in orange and green. Lester gained some of his confidence. School was getting out, and we all met at Franklin and Lester's locker since they were the closest to home. I hadn't seen or heard from Calvin since lunch period, and I was worried about him. I was hoping that he didn't get suspended or sent home because I knew that Calvin's mom would have told my mom at the shop that something went down, and then I would have been grilled when I got home. We started walking home and walked right past Elkhart Elementary. I could have swore that we saw Freddie and his group on the other side of the school, but I ignored them, hoping they ignored us. Wait up, Calvin yelled. We turned around and seen him running to catch up with us. Sup, Calvin, man, you almost got us killed at lunchtime. Juan was furious at our friend. You don't understand, Juan. I hate the Crips. I hate them. I hate them. I hate them. They the punks that killed Carla. We walked in silence. Carla was the oldest of the four children that Calvin's parents had and the only girl. She had gotten killed being at the wrong place at the wrong time, trying to hang with her girls and look at some boys 2 years earlier. Calvin, Carlton, and Casey are a little sensitive when it comes to anyone talking about Carla and will fight you the minute your sister comes out of your lips. I never had a sister, much less an older sister, so I really didn't know what Calvin was going through. Calvin just a hothead in general, but anything pertaining to his sister just made him go off the chain. Man, I didn't know the Crips killed your sister. Franklin was a little sad. I didn't know either, Darren answered. But Calvin, you can't go trying to fight all the Crips because they killed Carla. You don't even know which ones did it. I don't care, Calvin replied. If one did it, all did it. I hate them bastards. I don't care if they step to me or not. That was a smart move y'all made back there, a voice from behind us said. We turned around to see this guy named Bernie and three other seventh graders approach us. Y'all were about to get tore up for real. Leave him alone, Bernie. Darren stood up to his cousin. Shut up, Darren. That was mad stupid what Calvin did, and you standing in the middle of it like Shaquille O'Neal. We kept walking, trying not to make the issue bigger than what it was. We followed Elkhart Street all the way down to 6th Avenue. Truthfully, we could have walked the extra block to 6th and Chambers and caught the stoplight, but we wanted to run across the street. It's almost like the rite of passage, proving our manhood. 6th Avenue was one of the busiest streets in Aurora, as it is an intersection with I 225. Going north on Chambers Road leads to the notorious Montbello neighborhood, where legend has it a significant number of shootings and gang activities take place. Six in Chambers was the playground our parents never knew we had. The thrill of crossing the street and trying not to get hit. Feeling the breeze of wind behind our backs let us know that the mission was accomplished. The cars went way past 35 or 45 miles per hour speed limit. Call us stupid, but this was way better than bungee jumping or some of the other crazy things that people did for excitement. Once we made it across the street, we saw Carlton trying to kiss up on this girl at the gate by the apartments. He always was trying to get him some girls. I think that was I think that was all that was on his mind. Girls, girls, that he do adore. Juan and Franklin lived closer to the 6th Avenue side of the apartments. Calvin and Darren and I lived close to the Chambers side. Lester and the twins lived in the next apartments down the street from Chambers. I never knew what the names of those apartments were, but that didn't matter because Lester and twins were always in Elk Ridge hanging out with us anyway. Calvin, let me talk to you for a minute. Carlton caught up to us. The girl he was trying to kiss on was walking toward where Juan and Franklin lived. When Carlton got close enough to Calvin, he smacked him on the backside of the head. Ouch! Calvin yelled, dropping his backpack. What was that for? That's for trying to fight. That was for trying to start a fight with the damn Crips, man. You know I play basketball with Freddie. Man, trying to get me killed protecting you. Carlton grabbed Calvin's arm and started walking him to the apartment. I'm going to make sure you get home too. Tell your friends you'll see them later. Calvin threw up the peace sign and we walked to our apartments. Orange and green, right? Lester clarified once I got to my door. Yeah, orange and green. Maybe we can get some t shirts made at the mall once the business gets up. We can do that. I walked up to the stairs and my dad came to the door. He waved at my friends and then I put my finger. Then he then put his finger to his lips, letting me know that Marcus was asleep. All right, everybody. That is the end of chapter 2 of Worth Fighting For. I want to thank you guys for the love and support of me reading the chapters for you. I'm going to answer 2 questions and then I'm going to end the live. And I really thank you guys for hanging in with me and supporting. Please, if you've enjoyed this content, like, comment, share, and subscribe. And we are going to do this again. I will read chapters 3 and 4. We will have more discussions about worth fighting for and what it's like being a teen entrepreneur and other topics that come to mind. The story, I was asked what year this story takes place. This story is the school year for 1993, 1994. So this is the 1993, 1994 school year. That's when this book takes place. The setting is in Aurora, Colorado, which is a city next to Denver. I'm not too quick to call it a suburb because Aurora, at the time the story takes place, Aurora land wise was about as large as Denver was, and it is the largest um, city outside of Denver in the metropolitan area. Um, so that's where the story takes place. The main characters, Martin, Calvin, Darren, Franklin, Lester, and Juan are in the 6th grade. The gang members that are the nemesis in the books, they're 8th graders. And if you guys have been following me as I've been reading this book, nothing is for nothing is the follow up on that from this book right here. So as you guys were hearing me read from this book last month, Calvin and Lester are the main narrators, main characters, and POV point of view that this story takes place from. In the first book in this series, this is Martin's book. So this is all Martin's point of view. So there's no switching point of view in this book like there was in this one. And when we talk about my Worth Fighting For teen series, they used to be called the Hold On Be Strong teen series when it was out under another name. Um, Many of the characters do originate from this book. However, some of the characters are cousins or relatives of the main characters from this book. So when you read the teen series, no, you don't have to read them in a specific order. The order that the books are in, it's a suggested reading path, but you can, if you don't want to read this book and you want to read this book, or you just happen to start with this book because it's the first time you've met me or being introduced to my work, you could start here and still be able to catch up and know what happened in this book. Okay. Um, my intention is to go live again on my intention is to go live again on Monday. And when I go live on Monday, I'll be reading chapters 3 and 4. All right. So I want to thank you guys again for the love and support. And I will catch you on the next video. Bye.